Bringing some new opportunities to teen moms, the local program that's making sure young families have what they need to succeed. We'll be right back. Oregon's teen pregnancy rate has plunged to 80% since 1997, but Marion County has the third highest rate, and one Salem teen was included in that statistic. In this week's Positive Vibes, Jenny Hansen shows us what she's overcome and where she's going next.
Do you want to go get some cars?
Part of her day is spent with her son at the Roberts High School Teen Parent Program, and the other part?
Hey, do you know which ones are the dialed?
At the Career and Technical Education Center, or CTEC campus in Salem, where Beatrice Perez is learning about robotics, drones, and engineering.
CTEC has a lot of equipment that no 18 or 17-year-old can afford or can even access.
This is not the future that Beatrice once thought was possible for herself. Just a few years ago, she was pregnant at the young age of 14.
I would say it wasn't a healthy relationship, so it kind of led me to do things that, you know, a 14-year-old girl shouldn't be doing.
After having her son, she dropped out of school.
Since I'm Hispanic, you can get a job in the fields or you can do different things. So I did that for a while, and eventually I told myself, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live like this my whole life. I don't want to be here.
After a gap of about 3 years, she re-enrolled in the Teen Parent Program and also at CTEC, where teachers say she's a different person.
She's one of the most resilient kids I've ever seen. She knows that her responsibilities and her challenges are greater than other students. She is not shy nor apologetic about advocating for herself when the situations get too stressful.
I want to be an engineer. I want to be able to help the world or create a solution or do something that will make a change.
Beatrice plans on enrolling in community college after she graduates this year. From there, the single mom plans to continue with higher education until she earns an engineering degree. She says she's inspired by her son and also her parents, who are migrant farm workers.
They didn't even go to high school, or they didn't have the opportunity to even think about high school or middle school. So I would say that for them, their goal is for me to be something else than what they had, like to at least embrace the opportunity I have.
Jenny Hansen, KOIN 6 News.
Salem Kaiser's C-Tech has all sorts of programs for students, including video game design, manufacturing, cosmetology, law enforcement, and auto body repair. Pretty cool program. Well, Dove Lewis is going to be featured in Nat Geo Wild's new TV series, Animal ER Live. It's the animal hospital that treats animals 24/7, and the show is going to capture the fast-paced drama of the animal emergency room. Other emergency vets are also going to be featured. Animal ER Live will air Saturdays and Sundays for 4 weeks. That starts next week, March 30th. Well, a sweet surprise for a local custodian. At a school assembly, he found out he is a finalist for a national contest. Nick Cifuentes has worked at Hogan Cedars Elementary in Gresham for 17 years. He's now a top 10 finalist in the Custodian of the Year contest. The janitor with the most votes wins $5 grand, and the school gets $5,000 worth of products from Cintas, a cleaning supply company. The school says Nick is committed to building positive relationships with the kids and approaches everything with a can-do attitude. You can vote for him, too. We have a link to do that. Go right to the contest. Just head over to KOIN.com. Still ahead on KOIN 6 News tonight, a terrifying ordeal happening now off the coast of Norway. What we know is a cruise ship with hundreds of passengers is still stranded tonight. Plus, the Muller report, now in the hands of the U.S. Attorney General. But when will the public get to take a look? What we can expect tomorrow. Those stories are next. Stay with us. Well, right now, a fundraiser and a celebration of life is underway for Cody Denny. He was the 25-year-old found badly beaten near the Springwater corridor who later died from those injuries. Denny was walking home from a friend's house at around 1 in the morning. This was in late January, and at some point, he was beaten to the point of being unrecognizable. Denny suffered multiple strokes. He was left with a significant brain injury, never regained consciousness, and passed away 6 weeks after he was found.
You stole a beautiful life away from so many people, from him, from his family, from all of his friends, and I just feel like the world's a little bit darker now.
I just hope that, somebody will be responsible for this. Somebody will say something.
This is still a mystery. Police have not released any information about a suspect yet. The White House says President Trump has not been briefed yet on the contents of the Muller report. It remains in the hands of the Attorney General and a small group of staffers. Muller has the latest on this confidential report.
Attorney General William Barr headed to the office Saturday morning to read and process Special Counsel Robert Mueller's final report. He's expected to deliver a summary to Congress before the end of the weekend.
It's all a big hoax. I call it the witch hunt.
Before departing for Florida, President Trump once again criticized the investigation into Russian interference during the 2016 election. But there have been no comments or tweets from the president since the report was delivered Friday. While a Justice Department official confirms the special counsel will not indict anyone else, the 2-year probe did lead to indictments of 34 individuals, including 5 close associates of the president. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, former deputy campaign chairman Richard Gates, and former personal attorney Michael Cohen. Each of those men have all pleaded guilty. The president's longtime advisor Roger Stone still has charges pending.
Let it come out. Let people see it.
It is up to the Attorney General to determine how much information in the report is made public. The president has said Barr should release the entire report, and Democrats agree.
I am hoping that it will be transparent, and I'm hoping that the Attorney General will give us as much information as possible.
The Justice Department has a policy that a sitting president cannot be indicted. So, if the report contains any evidence of criminal wrongdoing by the president, it would be up to Barr to pass that along to Congress for possible impeachment. Muller, CBS News, Washington.
A white police officer who shot and killed an unarmed black teenager has been acquitted by a Pennsylvania jury. And this not guilty verdict sparked protests when it came down last night. Those demonstrations continued today. 17-year-old Antoine Rose was fatally shot in the back by East Pittsburgh police officer Michael Rossfeld in 2018.
We are outraged. Our people are hurting. And it ain't going to continue like this in Pittsburgh. Y'all must be crazy if you think we're going to continue to live like this.
Antoine Rose was shot in his back, which killed him. And on behalf of the Rose family, on behalf of the African-American community and lovers of justice, we say it's not okay. Obviously, something has to.
Well, last night, several shots were fired at Rossfeld's attorney's office. Authorities believe they were fired in response to this verdict. Well, some staggering numbers from a new study on gun violence affecting school-age children in the U.S. A senior author of this study says more school-age children die from guns than on-duty police officers or military members. According to the research, close to 39,000 American kids were killed by guns between 1999 and 2017. The study found that of the deaths, 86% of them involved boys. Black children accounted for 41% of those killed. This study will be published in the American Journal of Medicine. GoFundMe is banning anti-vaccination campaigns. The fundraising service says it's shutting down any campaign that promotes, quote, misinformation about vaccines. The move to specifically ban anti-vaccination campaigns comes after companies like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube have removed similar content. Health officials have blamed high-profile outbreaks of measles earlier this year on unvaccinated people. About 1 million people are marching in London today. They're demanding a second Brexit referendum so the people of Britain can rethink whether they want to leave the European Union.
You know, it's incredibly exciting. There's a great spirit here, and all we would say is to the Prime Minister and to Parliament, to all our MPs, listen to what people are saying here today. Incredibly important message, and the message is put it to the people.
Demonstrators on the streets today are at odds with Brexit supporters. They say a second referendum would trigger a major constitutional crisis. It's still uncertain how, when, or even if Brexit will happen. A massive rescue operation is underway off of Norway's western coast after a cruise ship ran into engine problems in rough seas. An estimated 1,300 passengers are being hoisted off of that ship by helicopter. They're going one by one. Rescue crews are battling high winds and rough surf, trying to get these people back to land. The Viking Sky was on a 12-day trip that began March 14th in the western Norwegian city of Bergen. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell wants more communities in the shadow of northwest volcanoes to have time to prepare for eruptions. Cora Harlan shows how monitoring of volcanoes will help people survive the next explosion.
Thank you. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell visiting the Cascades Volcano Observatory this morning in Vancouver to highlight the need, she says, for more seismic and GPS monitoring of more U.S. volcanoes.
We definitely can't stop volcanoes from erupting, but we can put better tools in place to give the communities and scientists better data and information. And from that, our local communities can develop better communication and response plans.
These very small devices detect subtle movements underground, sound signatures under a volcano, and precise movements of the ground itself using GPS technology. The additional detection equipment will extend efforts that are already underway to more precisely monitor Oregon and Washington volcanoes, including Mount Hood, which is scheduled to get more monitoring equipment this coming summer. Simply put, deeper inside a volcano, geologists can hear and feel, the more lead time they'll be able to provide communities downwind and downstream of places like Mount Hood and Mount Rainier to prepare and evacuate when these volcanoes become active again.
With additional warning time, we'll have more notice to mobilize emergency response resources, prepare for ashfall, and to reach historically underserved populations before the eruption.
Senator Cantwell maintains 1 in 3 U.S. volcanoes are under-monitored, and she'd like that to change. Money to pay for the volcano monitoring additionally has been authorized under a bill recently signed by President Trump. Congress still needs to specify that some of that money will be required to be spent on volcano monitoring. In Vancouver, Cor Harlan, KOIN 6 News.
A California man was ordered by his city to cut his 6-foot privacy fence down to 3 feet after a neighbor complained. So the man did cut the fence down to 3 feet, but he also put up an unusual display to get his revenge. Take a look.
A neighbor had complained about my fence being too tall, so they came out and made me cut my fence down. So I cut it down, you know, and so I wanted my privacy. They didn't want me to have my privacy, so now they get to see my party. I put a fence up for my dogs. I have two large dogs. One's a King Corso Mastiff, and he's just giant, so I decided I needed some room for the dogs. Cleared the whole area. It was a bunch of brush and trees that were no good, and cleared it all up, made it nice, put the fence in 6 months ago. We spent $9,000 putting the fence in. I mean, you can see it's got a nice rolling gate, and it's custom fence. And I get a call 6 months later that I need to cut my fence down to 3 feet. So a couple weeks ago, I was doing a job out in Sebastopol for a clothing store that closed down, and they hauled out all these mannequins, and I couldn't bring myself to get rid of them because they were really cool. So by the time when he started to cut the fence down, I went back here and disassembled them all and put them at the table, and so when the fence came down, there they were.
I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, the poor guy lived next door to him, and the city's coming down on him for this fence. Come on. It's a, freedom of speech, freedom of, you can do whatever you want in your own house. People just need to come together and just have a little laugh about it, you know what I mean? Just relax. Yeah. It's all in good fun.
Don't always end stories with a close-up shot of a mannequin butt. That is a first on KOIN 6 News. Still ahead after we take a break, we have a closer look at a symbol of the Rose City.
I think like our Portland microbrews and our Oregon wines, they want to bottle that up and take it back to wherever they are.
We're getting the full scoop on TriMet's MAX trains and their role in a rapidly growing community. We'll be right back. It's the fourth busiest light rail system in the country. Portland's Metropolitan Area Express, you know it as the MAX, carried more than 39 million passengers last year. And the system is still expanding, even as TriMet deals with issues like cost, safety, and new technology. And Ken Boddy examines the past, the present, and the future of the MAX in this week's Where We Live.
145 rail cars, 60 miles of track, and 97 stations with $13 billion of investment around them. TriMet and local government started talking about light rail in the late 70s to deal with the growing pollution problem. The MAX Blue Line started rolling between downtown Portland and Gresham in 1986, setting a new course for the region's transportation future.
That was the one that sort of had to pave the way and prove to folks that this was a viable way to get around the region.
Bob Hastings is a TriMet project manager and historian. We met him in Gresham on Portland's very first MAX train, which is still in service. As one of the trains that now crisscross 3 counties, they travel the red, the blue, the green, the yellow, and the orange lines. The orange, which goes over Tillicum Crossing and into Clackamas County, is the most recent. The 7.3-mile route, completed in 2015, cost $1.5 billion, half of it federal money. For visitors and urban planners, MAX helps define Portland.
I think like our Portland microbrews and our Oregon wines, they want to bottle that up and take it back to wherever they are.
Max operator Jeffrey Flanagan ferries many of the 120,000 passengers who use Max every day.
The hardest part about being a Max operator is just making sure that you're alert at all times, especially when you're going through downtown areas.
There have been accidents and violent incidents on trains and at several stations.
We were looking at our stations with closed-circuit televisions, with uniformed folks on the system. I think we're doing a lot more to address that perception of safety that folks have.
Now Metro, the regional government, and TriMet are looking to extend Max to the Southwest Corridor into Tigard as more people move here.
We're demonstrating that it is something that has worked for us as a region and certainly can be part of what we want to do as a future for the city and for the region.
Ken Body, KOIN 6 News.
Now, TriMet is also moving forward with electronic ticketing and updating its trip planner to include other modes of transportation like Lyft and Uber, too. We got meteorologist Joseph Dames here for a look at our full forecast. Joseph, what do we need to know for the week?
Well, the week's going to have showers here and there, and no substantial warm-ups, no big cool-downs. We're kind of right in the middle of spring weather.
Yeah, we're popping back and forth.
Yeah, good for all the flowers that are coming out, and it should be a nice week. Now, I'll tell you, before we start off the work week, we have a fantastic Sunday forecast. Today wasn't that bad either. We had a couple passing showers, but overall it was a pretty dry day. Sunday should be real nice. So if you do have some plans, you want to get outside for a little bit, tomorrow is a great day to do that. So we're going to finish off our weekend real nice. Temperatures likely lower 60s, nothing but sunshine. We will have some scattered showers this week, but it should come with some sun breaks. And temperatures are going to be right around normal this week, probably in the upper 50s, potentially lower 60s for a couple days. And everything from about Monday to Friday should sit right in that mark. Okay, we have 57 degrees for a high today in Salem, and McMinnville hit 58, Hood River 59, and the Dalles 62. So many locations right around that temperature. Still a couple touches of winter in the United States up towards areas of the Dakotas, and you can see all the way to the northeast there towards Maine. But overall, it seems like many states now finally buying into some warmer air, and that's because we're finally stepping through spring. Okay, PDX evening planner, if you're going to be out this evening, I do not have any rain in the forecast, maybe some light scattered showers if you're in areas like Gresham and to the east, but I expect most of us to be pretty dry as we go through the evening hours. Temperatures cooling down to the upper 40s. You can see some showers off to the east, but here it is starting to dry up, especially for the coast where it's just been a marvelous sunset. Big system off to the northwest, eventually going to push a cold front on through on Monday. That's going to bring in some more rain. As far as today, we didn't collect very much. We had a couple good showers that passed on through that had a nice downfall, and that was about it. Didn't measure very much, though, here in Portland. Areas like Salem over towards Tillamook had a little more than that. And you can see Central Oregon really not collecting very much at all. So the remainder of this evening, we start to dry on up. We get into our Sunday. Sunday morning should be nice. A few more clouds off to the east, maybe some rain towards areas like Pendleton and Baker City. But the rest of us should be dry, and then I think by the time we get to the afternoon, just about the whole state should be. By early Monday morning, here comes our next system. I think we'll probably hold off on the rain till a little bit later. At least the heavier rain will probably occur in the afternoon, evening hours on Monday, heading into the overnight hours too. Probably going to produce a little bit of snowfall for the ski resorts, which is still nice if you have some spring skiing and snowboarding in mind. Tuesday at 5 p.m., here we go. We have a few clouds out there. That's about it. Then we have some passing showers on Wednesday. It's going to start off dry for the morning. We'll see some rain in the afternoon, and then again on Thursday. But all signs are showing that we're going to start drying up on Friday before next weekend. So if you do have some plans, maybe Friday, it should be good at this time. So the rain chance the next few days, pretty low tomorrow. As I mentioned, I don't expect anything tomorrow, at least for us here in Portland. Some locations off to the east might start off the morning with that. Monday, yeah, we're going to get some rain, probably a little bit of rain on Wednesday too, and Thursday. But Friday should be all right. Coastal forecast tomorrow, temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s. The wind will be running out of the south. More of a variable wind, though, here in the valley. Temperatures warming up collectively into the lower 60s tomorrow. Upper 50s to about the mid-50s for areas like Pendleton and Madras, and into the gorge there. We have the wind running, maybe a gentle wind out of the west. Temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s. So many of us right around that temperature. And that pretty much continues through the week. Monday's going to be the coolest day because we're going to have a cold front move on in. That's going to spark a couple showers, maybe a stray thunderstorm, but I don't think we'll probably be seeing much on Monday. And then Friday and Saturday, it looks like we rebound back to the lower 60s. So not a bad week. This is just a typical spring week for us.
Yeah, we could do worse.
We could do way worse.
Sure.
We could be down in like the 40s and talking about snow or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been getting a couple